The body always tells the truth, but in perimenopause, it stops whispering and it starts yelling. Symptoms aren't random, they're revelations. In this conversation this week, I sit down with LisaBeth Lent and we talk about all things perimenopause. It's a conversation that even if you're in your early 30s, you won't want to miss. Hi, I'm Adrienne Irizarry. I'm an East Asian medicine practitioner who is passionate about women's health and helping women to live their best lives. My goal is to put you in the driver's seat of your health, offering holistic solutions for a symptom-free life. Statements made in this program are for educational purposes only and not intended as a substitution for medical consultation or advice. We do not claim to diagnose, treat, or cure any diseases. This podcast is inclusive and welcomes all gender identities. The focus of the program is on biological function, and we will use the term women throughout, but it is referencing physiological and social challenges for biology, not identity. Come as you are, I am happy you're here and welcome all performances of identity. I hope you find something helpful in this show. Welcome back to another episode of the Reproductive Rebel podcast. I am joined today by LisaBeth Lent. Welcome to the show.
Hey, so good to be here. Thank you for having me.
So I love doing these shows because I have the coolest people find me. And LisaBeth is absolutely one of these cool people. So if you could share with the audience who you are and what you do.
Who am I? I am a human, just like everybody else. So let's see. Who am I and what do I do? Yeah, I live and I breathe and I grow. I am a single mom entrepreneur. I have been allegiant to the holistic healing path since pretty much college, and that was over 25 years ago. I am a wellness educator. And I like to demonstrate how everything's in cahoots. So it's very similar to traditional Chinese medicine because everything's connected, right? But I like to simplify it for myself where the emotional, the mental, and the physical health of ourselves are all intertwined. And I'm like super passionate about how aligning your nutrition, like prioritizing your mental health, getting adequate support, all of these variables make you a healthy human. And so I try to simplify it in a very complicated world, right?
Right. There's so many things that are complicated in the world today, and simplicity is really what we need for optimal health.
Yeah. And I wrote a book. I'm going to plug the book and say the title really reveals everything about where I come from. So it's called Align Your Body, Align Your Life. And thank you. And like the idea is when you bring awareness to what is the root cause of my physical stuff, this opportunity for inner knowing, and everything kind of starts to reveal itself. A lot of people looking for their purpose and they don't know what they're going to do with their life. If you focus on what's going on with your physical self, you will find your path. I believe that.
Oh, hear, sister. That is very accurate. I can just, looking at my clients that have come through my practice, looking at my own life, that's so true.
Yeah, this all started with my business. When COVID knocked my business, my massage practice out, I started to develop my somatic exercise principles for the corporate audience. And I started to train people in ergonomics awareness and how ergonomics is the gateway to that physical awareness and helping people address their aches and pains seemingly at the job, but in life. Like it's all like what you do at work is what you do when you sit at home at your office. When people ask me, who am I? I'm like, oh my God, there's so much. There's like, what facet do you want to start with? Like we're multidimensional beings and there's a lot going on. I
love that. I love that. Now, you could just see from that intro why I just had to have her on the show, because these are the kinds of complexities and the beautiful uniqueness that makes each of us us. And that's such an important part of the health picture, right? Like I see people all the time post in
That's
like
so juicy.
right? Like Facebook groups, they're like, I'm having X symptom. What do you guys use? And then I see people like everybody and their brother chime in underneath. And they're like, I use ashwagandha and I use this and I use that. And it's like, okay, so that's lovely. That worked for you, but that might not work for this individual person. And so I always chime in with a statement of, well, like, this or this could be an influencing factor. I'm happy to talk about your unique needs. If you're interested and if it feels aligned, just reach out, right? Like I'm not trying to be salesy, but people really miss the fact that this knowing and getting to know their body and their body's needs and the composition of their body, like you said, moves you in the direction of your life's purpose is the conversation piece of your body in terms of what it needs.
And this is why people who understand that what works for one person is not necessarily at all going to work for somebody else. And I come from the same exact understanding of like, there's different modalities out there. What's right for you?
Yep.
And what herbs are right for you? And what exercise is right for you? And what type of nutrition is right for you? And I find the more rigid people think it has to be, like, I mean, that rigid might be right for you, but it's not right for everybody,
Well, and let's be real, rigid isn't right for a lot of people because the little inner teenager inside of us goes, you're telling me this is what I have to do? Well, screw that. No. Can you tell I live with teenagers right now?
Exactly. I do too.
Right? I knew you'd resonate with that. But like our unique needs, and sometimes it's body constitution, but sometimes it's what's going on in our life.
Yeah.
Right? So like your body might need certain things, but it might need a little extra because of what's going on in your life. And I see this a lot during perimenopause, where the exercise that you did before, and I'm using exercise because I feel like that's a pretty universal benchmark. I'm also struggling with this, so I'm speaking for myself too, that the exercise that you did before you hit perimenopause does not work and function the same way in your body once you are in perimenopause. So your needs shift as you shift.
Would you agree that this is like a generalized statement? I'm curious if you agree with this. Do you think that women just get more sensitive overall
as they go through this transition?
Yeah.
Oh gosh, yes.
Yeah, that's my whole thing, is I feel like if we don't learn how to be more gentle with ourselves, that there will be breakdowns in some way, shape, or form.
Absolutely.
Some sort of illness. Yeah, it's interesting.
Yep. Well, some of it is sensitivity, right? Because as our hormone profile begins to shift, the way we respond to stressors shifts, right? So that's part of it. But the other part of it is how many years have you treated your body like a trash compactor and put crap in it? That could be crap from your personal life. This could be overstress for the job. This could be eating poorly. This could be sleeping poorly. This could be the martyr of motherhood. This could be fill in the blank, right? There's a lot of ways that we don't respect the natural energies inside of our bodies. And then we expect it.
Hold on. Now, it's not that, yes, we don't respect it, but also look at the culture that's constantly telling us we need to eat the crap.
Yes.
It's like you can't go out and not be tempted to eat something that's garbage.
Oh, 100%.
So, and I'm not using it as an excuse, but I just needed to say, that's all.
Yeah, no, we are. We are bombarded by certain messages, whether it's around foods to eat or not eat, diets that are overly
caffeinated
restricted.
beverages. That's my new fixation, is the caffeine obsession. We are a caffeine obsessed culture, and everybody thinks they need it. And I think if there's one thing that will screw up your hormones as a woman, is abusing caffeine. Now, I'm not talking about having a cup a day, like good for you if you can have a cup a day, but I think a lot of people are drinking it all day long, and they have it for this and they use it for that. And let's see how your adrenals are doing when you're pushing in your mid 40s.
Well, and that's it. Like, it's another stressor on the body. So you have too many stressors that come over the bow, regardless of where they're coming from. And men don't suffer from adrenal fatigue like women do. Why? Because 97% of their sex hormones are made in their testes, and this little tiny percentage is in their adrenals. Whereas women, it depends on the literature you look at. Some literature says it's a 60-40 split. Some says it's a 70-30 split. But it's a big proportion of your sex hormones have this reliance on your adrenals. So now let's look at that in terms of stress. So sometimes people's experience with the early stages of perimenopause is because they have treated their body like a robot, and they use caffeine when their energy begins to dip.
Right.
Because they're not giving themselves the break between work and rest that is required for the body to replenish.
Because they have all the things to do, they can't stop doing. They can't give themselves a break.
And when we don't honor the seasons in our body, whether it's our cycle seasons, right, as we go through a lunar month, or the seasons in our life as we move from our maiden and motherhood years towards our non-bleeding years, right? When we don't honor the fact that our body goes, hey, girl, it's time to pump the brakes. And we go, you know what? I'm just going to slam back this cup of coffee and keep going, which so many people do.
And I think that has a lot to do with the emotional temperature, right?
Yes.
So if we're engineered to be human doings and we're people pleasers, and we don't assert ourselves, and we're self-sacrificing, like that's all the recipe for disaster. And then the thing that you said, I just wanted to backtrack for a second about the adrenals crashing out. Well, they get depleted, but then there's this dark disruption of hormones that we're not producing a certain kind of estrogen, right? I think it's estrogen, where progesterone drops and just everything goes haywire. Men don't have that. Men don't have anything like that in the past in their lives. And there's anyway, I can go on, but my mind is going in different directions. My ADHD is starting to kick in. Sorry.
Well, so men go through andropause, but it is a slow progression. So they have a hormonal shift and an energetic shift in their body, but it is a slow, steady progression over the course of many years. Perimenopause is supposed to be like that, where we have a slow, steady change. Now, our hormone profile changes a lot more drastically than theirs does. As the veil of estrogen drops, we tend to be a little more in terms of a truth teller, because we don't.
It's about time.
Well, we're not smoothing things out for the good of the people.
Right.
Because that softening hormone that makes your skin fluffy and soft and all of that also softens your temperament some. Mm-hmm. And then you take steps into perimenopause, and that starts to fluctuate. And this is the sage wisdom phase of your life. But when there hasn't been mindful care of the body leading up to it, and collectively not recognizing the symptoms that are leading you into this phase of life, I knew to look for them. And I started seeing subtle shifts in my body around 38.
Wow.
But it was subtle, but I was looking for it, right?
I wish. I had the weirdest, as I told you earlier, I had the weirdest acne on my face. I never had skin issues. And I assumed, and it's not the first time I had something going on with me thinking it was a food reaction or a detox reaction. And it was actually my hormones were going bonkers. And it was terrible. And now I have all these scarring and stuff, which is very sad. But oh, well, battle wounds of not knowing. I wish I had known. I wish I had known. And that's another complaint that is fun to say. And heeding the call to the women in this audience who are in their 30s, early 30s, menopause is actually, it's coming for you. So learn about it and learn about all the different signs that are coming, because I wish I had conversations about it. It's this like dirty little secret of shame. Why is all this shame with getting older? Because we're no longer objectifiable. We're no longer seen as marketable.
Yeah. It's because of the cultural narrative, because historically the aging process used to be revered. And the women who were able to live long lives were the wisdom keepers for tribes and for their ancestral lineages, and they would pass this wisdom on. And so it was really special for a woman to be able to cross this threshold and be a wisdom keeper for her people, for her family. And
then came medicine.
And then came modern medicine. And along with modern medicine came a very strong patriarchal narrative that the body is something to be fixed like a mechanic.
Right.
And this
and
is
so
actually...
so is childbirth.
Yes. There is a beautiful book called Childbirth as a Rite of Passage. It's a fabulous book. And it talks about childbirth, and it talks about perimenopause, actually, and how mechanized that process is, and that we are something to be fixed. There's a beautiful book called The Wild So-As, and in that book, she gives the example of a biomechanistic way of looking at the body versus the biointelligent way of looking at the body. And the biointelligent way is honoring what the body knows versus this biomechanistic, that there are things that are quote unquote broken that need to be fixed. And it's a very, very illustrative, very interesting way of looking at the body and the vocabulary we use around our bodies. So we have that kind of, your body is broken and it's something to be fixed. That's part of the Western traditional allopathic vocabulary and approach to care. And then on top of that, we are looking at this transition and not honoring the energy that's going into it. So this is where you'll see a lot of people who will step into using HRT because their hormones are shifting. They think they have to fill in that gap. But the body is designed to naturally have these hormone shifts. The reason why they wreak so much havoc on our life is because we're not supposed to age. Because the patriarchal culture tells us we can't age because we lose our value. And now a word from our Reproductive Rebel sponsor, Embody Space. Your cycle holds wisdom, and the Embody Space cycle tracking app helps you unlock it. Track your cycle in the only fully encrypted app designed to protect your most sacred data. Get daily guidance tailored to every phase, from bleeding to blooming, with rituals, herbs, lifestyle tips, dietary support, and more. All tailored for your body's natural rhythms, because your body's story is yours alone. Embody Space, your private portal to cycle wisdom. Download now and reclaim your rhythm. And now, back to the show.
Yes, but you say something interesting about, I think our culture has become so stressful
Yes,
that I think, especially women who've suffered a lot of trauma, childhood trauma, or very sensitive disposition, ADHD, like neurodivergence, that certain kinds of personalities and compositions suffer with more intense symptoms.
Yes.
And again, I think it's partly due to the stressful intensity of modern culture and the pressures of modern culture, I think. And it depends on your circumstances, very individual, of course. Some people have more resilience to stress and therefore their symptoms are not as bad. I was desperate when I tried HRT and I'm still like struggling with using it or not. And I'm a holistic girl. Like the fact that I'm using HRT, like that means this is a really important thing, that I was having relentless hot flashes, relentless. Every 5-10 minutes, I felt like I was going to melt down. Yeah. And then I would have a chill, and it was all day long. I've heard people, every couple of hours, I have 2 or 3 a day. Like, no, I'm like all day long. And then I was in a state of insomnia and my mind was racing all night long. And I was desperate. And I didn't have the time. But now I bought some other things. I'm reading Susan Weed's book on menopause. And perhaps we should have a conversation, of course, deeper dive into exploring the world of options for support. And there's a lot of herbal support, and of course, the Chinese, they know. I mean, again, like the Chinese still revere aging. They still respect older people. In our culture, we don't respect older people, and more so, or I should say less so, women. Women like become demoted unless you're like a powerhouse, of course, and you're the exception to the rule. That's different because you command respect. But if you're like a typical normal, you don't know her name and you see her, most people, you're invisible.
Yes. So to your point about HRT, so it's funny, you said 2 things already in the course of this conversation. I know why your hot flashes were as bad as they were, but that is the beauty of Chinese medicine, right? It doesn't look at the body as something that is broken that needs to be fixed. Chinese medicine views its approach more like a gardener. What does the plant need in order to thrive, right? And so I'm not demonizing HRT. It does need to be there for some people. But in general, I think our culture looks for quick fixes in general.
Oh, yeah.
And
Absolutely.
Because they look for quick fixes, it doesn't hold space for that natural transition that is taking place. Now, ADHD often, I actually haven't seen any exceptions to this yet, has a yin deficient component. It's part of why the attention is scattered and it isn't rooted into the body. So support the yin, the focus gets better. When you hit 42, you start becoming more yin deficient. So you naturally had a yin deficient leaning. And now you're adding more natural yin deficiency in on top of it. This is why HRT works really good.
And I abused caffeine my whole life, by the way.
Well, I mean, that aside.
I was the excess yang, right? Yes. In the yin deficiency was just like hitting a brick wall with my burnout in my 40s.
Yep. So, when we know that there are tools that exist, and that's some of it too, is awareness. And that's the whole reason that this program exists, is that a lot of people don't know that there are other options available. And the doctor will suggest this one thing. Sometimes they suggest birth control. Sometimes I've seen them suggest a Lupron shot. And
what is that? I don't even know what that is.
It essentially puts you into an arrested bleeding state. It's like a false menopause that it induces. And they'll use that sometimes for people who have excessive bleeding, if they haven't given them an ablation. I've seen it used in several different contexts. But so they have options that alter the hormonal landscape in one way or another. So sleep disturbances start happening when the progesterone begins to change. It is very normal. Chinese medicine looks at it as the blood isn't anchoring the sleep any longer. And so nourishing the wood and fire elements can help with the sleep quality. So, there's a lot that can be done with diet and with routine and lifestyle changes and all of these kinds of things. But, that's the kind of ancestral wisdom that used to be passed down. And we just don't do that.
And I'm living on my own, right? I have no family anywhere around. And I'm paying ridiculous amounts of rent, right? Like life is like isolating nowadays. So not only are we disconnected from our ancestral lineage, with the wise keepers and all of that, but like we're on our own.
Yeah.
And that's so unnatural. It's so unnatural. We've forgotten how to even coexist peacefully. Nobody wants to be together anymore because people are too peoply. Instead of, we've forgotten how to freaking have real conversations with people without completely shutting down.
Yes, absolutely. Well, and honestly, common courtesy has gone out the window too a little bit. I feel like since COVID, people have stopped like really understanding how to interact with other people. I had an instance of this yesterday where I was like, wow, that was very rude. I'm surprised you did that to my face. Like, it just shocks me. But like, we have an opportunity to use a program like Reproductive Rebel to talk about these kinds of things, to talk about like listening to what your body actually needs and seeking out community and sisterhood that support those kinds of conversations, because we are more isolated than ever. And honestly, we thrive. We're supposed to be in villages, raising our kids in community, supporting one another in sisterhood. And women's health thrives when you have a sisterhood of people around you.
Right. Our brain is designed for that kind of social support, and it regulates our nervous systems to live like that.
In so many important ways, it regulates our nervous system. And so I find that this kind of sisterhood is particularly important during perimenopause because, you were talking about becoming invisible. I hear that from my clients a lot, is that all of a sudden, like, I'm not turning heads anymore. I'm becoming invisible. People don't see me anymore. I've noticed this a little bit. My daughter is almost 14. And when she carries my 8-month-old son, people think she is his mom. And I don't even exist unless I talk. It's wild. It's totally wild. And I'm only 41. So I'm not old by any stretch of the imagination, but I'm already seeing that invisibility cloak come over my body, which is wild. And being able to have safe spaces to talk about feeling invisible, how that shifts our internal voice about how you feel about yourself. You're also seeing your body shift as your hormones are shifting. That has a mental health component to it.
I say, when you feel invisible, how do you turn it up? Like, because if you're feeling invisible, what boldness is waiting to come out? What are you aching to be seen for? Is it to dress a little bit more you, like something that pleases you that maybe your daughter might criticize, which my 13-year-old daughter is certainly going to criticize if, like, I want to cut my hair. And she's like, don't do it. Don't do it. Because I want to do like something a little edgy, a lot edgy. I have this vision and I'm probably going to do it after I move. and I'm just waiting to do it, waiting to pull the trigger. So I'm going to go out on a limb here. I've been a part of 12-step community for a long time, for almost 3.5 years, a little bit pertaining to food and then unhealthy relationships. I'm in a 12-step program for caffeine, and it's very supportive, right? So there's a community of supportiveness, but they say, how do you make a living amends? If I'm suffering from invisibility and from a lack of community, well, how do I get out there? And how do I be bold? Like, to me, the living amends is to be bold and feel beautiful and to refuse. Like, just because other people don't value my presence, all the more reason for me to value my presence, because it does come from within, right? That feeling valued, that feeling seen is I see myself, and I gather with women who value me and see me, because then there's that resilience of, yeah, okay, my daughter who's 13 is getting ogled at. And I'm like kind of disgusted, actually, because she's 13 years old and they're looking at her and I don't exist. And I'm like, whoa.
Yeah.
That's kind of scary to me, because if she were 16 or 19, that wouldn't bother me. But the fact that she's 13 is a little bit concerning, that she's turning heads at 13.
Yeah. I mean, it's all about inner turn on, right? Like, how do we find that inner fire inside and turn it all the hell way up?
Yes. Yes. And we can only do that with the strength of our sisters. I mean, unless, hey, if you can be that kooky woman that doesn't give a damn and you're bold as hell, like on your own, more power to you. But I need people in my corner in order for me to go, yeah, I'm going to do this. I'm doing it.
Yeah. It's really amazing. Like, I've noticed as I've aged, and it's a natural part of it, right? Like, one of the beautiful parts that I tell my perimenopausal clients all the time is you're no longer pouring your chi, your vital energy, into the creation of life, meaning having babies or being in your fertile years. And you're now pouring it into the creation of your life. We have the unique opportunity as assigned at birth female bodies to live in a lunar cyclical way and then live more like our male counterparts, where our hormones are a little more level set and we don't have the same up and down lunar spikes that we do, or that we do during our bleeding years. And so this is where we have the ability to have these like powerhouse, like I think of like CEO type moments, right? Like, sometimes women aren't chosen for those roles, which I think is horrific. And I could do a whole show on this, because they're emotional, quote unquote, right? They're too emotional. Well, when you make this transition, you are an emotional being, but less so. It swings less with hormonal changes that emulate the lunar cycle. You are more level and linear the way that your male counterpart is. And so you have this beautiful opportunity to essentially live two lives, where you had your lunar life, your cyclical life, and now you have this more linear kind of expression of your life. And there's a reason why women go back to school, they change careers, they re-envision who they are and what they want their life to be during this phase of their life. And that's, I think, one of the most powerful places sisterhood comes in, is you find yourself surrounded by like-minded people who are going through the same kind of experience. I started a group on Facebook called Ancient Wisdom for the Modern Woman. And the idea is that it's a place that people can have conversations very much like this. And I have found that the dominant thread in the conversation is around perimenopause, because we're looking for that community that we can safely reinvent ourselves in. and have these kinds of conversations and talk about the fact that we feel invisible, or talk about the fact that you feel like quote unquote normal 1 minute, and then another minute you're like raging about shoes that were left in the bottom of the stairs and you can't figure out, like, part of your brain is going, why are you flipping out right now? And the other part is like, these shoes really piss me the fuck off. And like, you have this reconciliation moment of, where the hell did that come from? Right? Because that's part of this neural network retooling that's happening as your hormones are shifting, and having people to be able to have these kinds of conversations in a safe space to be able to be authentically you in is really important as you're going through this shift.
My only thing is that I hate Facebook. So I'm there. Maybe we can do like a monthly moon, or even quarterly, like a moon gathering for wise women. I would love to be a part of something like that. I would love to be a part of something like that. I don't have the bandwidth to be on Facebook anymore, but I want to be a part of that group. I can see that.
I have a program called Rebel Remembered that does something very similar to that. It takes you through essentially 13 archetypes of the female psyche. And we look at like different aspects of self. Why are certain things triggering? It's a safe space to kind of just talk about lived experience. And yeah, it's really beautiful. So I have that available as well, because I'm trying to create some of these spaces. I have some programming that's in development and will be available soon for this same purpose.
Well, if you need a guest speaker, I'm your lady.
I love that. I love that. I will absolutely have you on the show. So if you were to leave our audience with a final thought before we close, what would that be?
If you think you have to do something, just always opt for the kind choice. Like, what is kind to yourself? I think we need kindness to self more than anything as we mature. I'm talking about just finding more grace in our lives, especially just being kind. We need to put down like the harshness, and I have to. And no, the way to embrace what's coming is life, and to like take life in stride, and to feel that softness is through kindness. Yeah.
I love that. I love that. Hold on to that, everybody, because that is a really beautiful final thought. So if people were looking to work with you, where would they connect with you?
You can go to Instagram and use my full name, LisaBeth Lent. Or you can, I'm pretty there. That's easy to find me. You can send me a message. And you can also go to my website, which is inneralignmenteducation.com. And also, if you want to check out my book, you could look at Amazon. It's Align Your Body, Align Your Life. And the subtitle is Quit Bending Over Backwards and Getting Ahead of Yourself. Be well with inner alignment.
I love that. I love that. So all of that information will be in the show notes, everybody. And thank you so much, LisaBeth, for coming on the show. This was an amazing conversation, and I look forward to our conversations in the future.
Me too.
Until next time, everybody. Thank you for joining me for another episode of Reproductive Rebel. Reproductive Rebel is recorded by certified peri-steam hydrotherapist and acutonics practitioner, herbalist, and Chinese nutritional therapist, Adrienne Irizarry of Moon Essence LLC. If you are interested in setting up an appointment for one-on-one support, ordering from our store, or checking out our course offerings, visit our website at moonessence.life. Be sure to subscribe to our newsletter and get insider information on upcoming events and offerings. Join the conversation. Like and follow us at MoonEssenceMe on Instagram, Facebook, or LinkedIn. Your voices make this program possible. Thank you all for your continued support.